UK media playing nanny and knowing the Sussex kids more than their parents, because apparently that's where we've arrived in British royal reporting. Forget doctors, teachers, or even Harry and Meghan themselves. According to parts of the royal press, anonymous sources now have exclusive access to the private thoughts, feelings, and excitement levels of two little children who are among the most protected kids in the world. If that sounds ridiculous, that's because it is. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today's story perfectly captures everything that has gone wrong with sections of the British royal media. Not because it's the biggest royal story of the year, not because it changes the future of the monarchy, but because it exposes a pattern that we've been watching for years, a pattern where speculation becomes headlines, anonymous whispers become news, and somehow people who have never stepped inside Harry and Meghan's home are suddenly presented as experts on what Archie and Lilibet are thinking. And here's what makes today's headline even more remarkable. Just yesterday, the British media was in complete agreement. Every television segment, every royal correspondent, every newspaper seemed determined to tell us one thing. Prince Harry would be traveling alone. Meghan would remain in California. Archie and Lilibet would remain in California. The reason? Ongoing security concerns that have been discussed for years. Panel discussions were held, experts were invited onto television, newspapers devoted article after article to explaining why Harry's family would not be joining him in London. Viewers were told this was the latest chapter in an ongoing security dispute that has shaped Harry's relationship with Britain ever since he stepped away from official royal duties. Whether people agreed with Harry's position or not, the reporting was consistent. The message across the media landscape was remarkably similar. Then, less than 24 hours later, another headline arrives, and suddenly we're told Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet are very excited for a potential reunion with King Charles. Hold on a second. If the children are staying in California, if no confirmed family reunion has been announced, if Harry and Meghan have not publicly commented on any plans involving Archie and Lilibet, then how exactly does anybody outside that immediate family know what those two children are supposedly feeling? That isn't a rhetorical question. It is the very first question any responsible reader should ask. Because journalism is supposed to answer one simple question before publishing anything. How do we know this? Not, wouldn't this make a good headline? Not, could this be true? Not, would people click on this? The first responsibility is establishing where the information came from. Yet, when it comes to royal reporting, especially stories involving Harry and Meghan, that standard often seems to disappear. Instead, readers are handed anonymous sources, unnamed friends, mysterious insiders, or the famous phrase that has become almost a character in its own right, a source close to the matter. Think about that phrase for a moment. Close to whom? Close in what way? Close enough to know the private thoughts of two children who almost never appear in public? That is an extraordinary claim, and extraordinary claims deserve extraordinary evidence. Instead, audiences are simply expected to accept these stories at face value because they appear beneath a royal headline. It has become one of the strangest traditions in British royal journalism. Anonymous people apparently know everything. They know what the king is thinking before breakfast. They know what William allegedly said behind closed doors. They know Meghan's private intentions. They know Harry's emotions. Now, somehow, they even know how Archie and Lilibet supposedly feel. At this point, you almost have to admire the confidence. Somewhere out there must be a secret club where everyone possesses magical access to every member of the royal family's internal thoughts. It's an impressive skill. Psychologists spend years studying human behavior, yet anonymous palace sources apparently achieve perfect emotional insight with a single phone call. The problem is that real journalism isn't supposed to work like that. When Harry and Meghan chose to step away from royal duties, they also made a conscious decision to protect their children's privacy. They have spoken openly about wanting Archie and Lilibet to grow up with as normal a childhood as possible. They rarely discuss them publicly beyond ordinary parenting moments. Public appearances involving the children are exceptionally rare. Photographs are carefully controlled. Interviews rarely venture into deeply personal details about their daily lives. That has been their approach consistently for years. Whether someone agrees with that decision or not is beside the point. The fact remains that Harry and Meghan have created one of the most private family environments imaginable for their children. Which makes today's headline even more fascinating, because if Harry and Meghan themselves barely discuss Archie and Lilibet publicly, then where exactly is this detailed emotional update coming from? It's a fair question, and it's a question that deserves more attention than the headline itself. The irony is almost impossible to miss. For years, critics accused Harry and Meghan of wanting privacy while simultaneously claiming they were constantly seeking publicity. Those accusations filled newspaper columns and television discussions. Yet here we are again, watching members of the media publish stories about the inner emotional world of children whose parents have repeatedly asked for privacy. If privacy is genuinely respected, shouldn't that include resisting the temptation to speculate about what two young children are supposedly thinking? That isn't protecting children, that isn't informing the public, that's filling space with speculation because speculation attracts readers. And perhaps that's the bigger issue here. The royal beat has become an industry built on constant content. Think about the economics of modern news. 24-hour television needs discussion topics every hour. Websites need fresh articles every few minutes. Social media algorithms reward constant engagement. Royal commentators need something to analyze every single day. The monarchy doesn't actually produce enough verified news to satisfy that demand. So what fills the gap? Speculation, anonymous sources, hypothetical scenarios, possible reconciliations, imagined conversations, projected emotions, potential meetings, possible future plans. Stories that begin with words like could, might, may, or reportedly, yet somehow transform into definitive headlines by the time readers finish scrolling. That's not unique to one outlet. It's a broader feature of celebrity and royal coverage. But when the subjects are young children, the practice deserves especially careful scrutiny. Children don't get to issue corrections. Children don't hold press conferences. Children can't tell the public, actually, nobody asked me that. Adults speak for them. Which is exactly why journalists should exercise greater caution before attributing specific emotions to children based on unnamed sources. This isn't about defending one family over another. It's about asking whether media standards should remain consistent. If a newspaper claimed intimate knowledge of the emotional state of another celebrity's children without direct confirmation, many readers would immediately question the sourcing. The same critical thinking should apply here. And there's another interesting contradiction. For years, some sections of the British press have argued that Harry and Meghan reveal too much. Now those same outlets appear remarkably comfortable revealing things that Harry and Meghan themselves have never said. That tension is difficult to ignore. One moment, the Sussexes are criticized for speaking publicly. The next moment, anonymous insiders are happily speaking on their behalf. Somehow, the second scenario is treated as more credible than the first. It leaves audiences trying to separate fact from interpretation, verified statements from informed guesses, and genuine reporting from stories that seem designed primarily to keep the royal conversation alive for another news cycle. That is why today's headline isn't really about Archie or Lilibet. It's about how modern royal reporting works. It's about the growing dependence on anonymous sourcing. It's about the pressure to generate continuous headlines. And it's about remembering that readers deserve to know the difference between confirmed information and speculation presented with confidence. Because once that line becomes blurred, every headline deserves a second look. Not because everything is false, but because healthy skepticism is part of being an informed audience. In an era where attention is a valuable currency, dramatic royal stories travel around the world in minutes. Corrections, clarifications, and nuance rarely move as quickly. That's why it's worth slowing down, asking where a story comes from, and remembering that anonymous claims about private family conversations are not the same thing as verified facts. That isn't taking sides. That's simply expecting journalism to meet the standards it asks everyone else to respect. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Happy and blessed Sunday.